In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys activities that you can do to teach your child how to blend three-letter words. Hey everybody, it's April. Welcome to Teach Young Minds. And today we are going to be talking about activities that you can do with your child to teach them how to blend three-letter words. So this video is the fourth video in the four-part series of teaching your child how to read. If you have not seen the past three videos, I encourage you to check them out in the links down below. The skill of blending sounds into words that we're going to go over today incorporates all the different concepts and skills that we talked about in the previous videos. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested in any of these topics that I've been covering. So before we get into these activities of blending, I just wanted to go over two things. The first is something that I talked about in the alphabet tips video, and that is your child does not necessarily need to know all of their letters and sounds in order to start blending. If they can identify a good amount of letters and sounds already, then as long as those sounds can make up a word, then they're ready to start blending. And the next thing that I need to point out is you don't have to teach all of these activities at once. I would just pick one to start off with and see how your child responds to that activity. Move on to a different activity if it's just not working out, or you can continue to use that activity and change it up however you want. One activity that I do with my students is I have them break down the sounds to a word using emotion and a song. It's really important that they can identify and isolate these sounds. It helps them sound out an unfamiliar word, and it also helps them in spelling. So the first thing that I do is I introduce a word. So for example, cat. Break it down, let's break down the word cat. K-a-t, cat. So what the child is doing is they start with the word cat and they move their hand across their arm really fast, cat, and then they tap each part of their arm as they say the sound, k-a-t, and then they blend those sounds together as they push their hand across their arm, cat. I do this when I introduce spelling words to them. I say the word and then they tap out each sound, and if they are at that level, they start writing each letter out that matches that sound. If your child is not yet writing, which remember that developmental skill happens last, I would write the letters out for them. Okay, this next activity are called sound ladders. I have 3 different ladders here. This is one way that you can use sound ladders. There's lots of different ways and variations. I'll show you a couple of them. But this one I really like to do because it teaches them about how words have patterns to them, and it teaches them about word families and rhyming. So what I do is I actually start out with covering up the first 2 ladders, and I just have the child point to each part of the ladder and have them say the sound. Ah, 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 ah. Obviously this is very repetitive, but it gets them to get comfortable with using the ladder, and it gets them comfortable with saying the sound over and over. If you're seeing that your child is confident in the sounds and is kind of bored with saying them so many times, you could even just cover it up and have them do it 3 times. Regardless, the repetitiveness is very helpful. Once they have that sound mastered, then I move on to the second ladder. I can say, what do you notice that's the same about this ladder? And they might notice that the letter A is still there. And then I say, what do you notice that is different? Oh, there is a consonant. There is another letter at the end, and it's the same. So let's read it together. A, t, at. I encourage my students to touch each letter. If they're having trouble doing that, sometimes I put some dots underneath so that they can touch each dot and say the sound at each time, at, and then put the dots together, at. And if they are comfortable with sounding each one out, at the very top they can just say the whole sound, at, at, at. And then after that, they go to the third letter. Okay, I would ask them, what do you notice that's the same about this letter and this letter? Oh, at. I could have them circle all the ats there. And then I could say, what do you notice that's different? Oh, there's a new consonant, a new letter sound in the beginning of at. So they can put the beginning sound. Sometimes it's good if I cover it up. It's helpful if I cover it up so that they're not too overwhelmed. So C says k, and this sound says at, k, at, cat. And up the ladder they go. Another way to use sound ladders is if you put the beginning sound in the middle ladder. Another way that you can use these sound ladders is if you change each sound in the beginning or the end for each ring of the second ladder. After they've read all of them and sounded them out, I tried to get them to read the words without blending them, which does take time for some kids, and that's okay. So I say, okay, do you remember what this word was? Tab, rag, dad. This next blending activity I call sound boxes. And sound boxes are great because it isolates each sound. So what I would do to start this activity is I could write out the word, and then I would have them tap each box and say the sound. K, a, t, and then have them try to blend it. Cat at the bottom. K, a, t, cat. That activity for the sound boxes are for them to just get used to seeing the letters and sounds in isolation and then blending them. This next activity using sound boxes, if your child or student is ready to write, then you can have them identify each sound of a word. So I would give them a word, for example, dog. I would say, okay, dog, what sounds do you hear? And usually this is where I break out the song. Break it down, break it down. Let's break down the word dog. D-a-g, dog. And then they would go to their boxes. D, d, d. What sound, what letter does D make? D, A, G. They would write each one, and then I would have them write the whole word at the bottom. So this is doing the reverse of blending a word. It's breaking down the word to its each isolated sound, which is really great when it comes to writing and spelling and phonics. So those are the activities that I use when it comes to teaching blending 3-letter words. The free download that comes with this video has a checklist of all the letters and sounds that your child can learn how to identify and read, along with 2-letter sounds and 3-letter words. The checklist also has a sound ladder template, as well as a sound box template that you can use while you're teaching your child. The download is free. Make sure you check that out in the link below. So what do you do once your child can start blending 3-letter words? Well, then you can start introducing phrases and simple sentences to them. In my very first video called Sight Word Activities, there's an activity called Sentence Trees. Sentence Trees is an activity that combines sight words, words that are hard to sound out, with words that we had covered here that they can sound out, to turn them into sentences. So don't forget to check that out. I will link it down below as well. That ends the 4-part series of teaching your child how to read. I hope that this series has been super helpful in covering all of those different topics. The question I have for you guys now is, what is your number one biggest struggle when it comes to teaching your child how to read? If you found this video helpful, give me that like, hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.